All right. We will call this regular meeting of the City Council for Monday, June 8th, 2026 to order. Will all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so before we begin tonight, I would like to ask that everyone join me in a moment of silence. This Memorial Day, our community suffered a heartbreaking tragedy when Amy Kuhn lost her life in a senseless act of violence. We extend our deepest condolences to Amy's family, her friends, and everyone who knew and loved her. We are grateful that Aiden Snyder, who was injured in that same incident, has been able to be returned home, and we continue to keep him and his family in our thoughts as he recovers. During this difficult time, we commend the members of the Pleasant Hill Police Department, Pleasant Hill Fire Department, Cass County Sheriff's Office, all of our first responders, and everyone who assisted in the response. I'd like to offer special recognition to Chief Tommy Wright, who came out of retirement to help lead the department through Pleasant Hill's first homicide investigation in about 20 years, as well as Captain Clay and the entire police department for their professionalism, dedication, and steadfast service to our community during this challenging time. Please now join me in a moment of silence for Amy Kuhn and in support of all those who were affected by this tragedy. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll have the approval of the agenda. Is there any objection from the council on the agenda as presented? All right, hearing no objection, the agenda will be approved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection by the council of the consent agenda as presented? Hearing no objection, the consent agenda will be approved by unanimous consent. We'll now open it up to public comment. If you have anything to say, please come to the podium, state your name and your address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. All right, we will move on then. Presentations. We have the audit entrance meeting.
Hello, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. My name is Todd Schuler. I'm an audit manager with the Missouri State Auditor's Office.
Hold on just 1 second, sir.
Sure.
Mark, can you see if that is turned on?
It's on.
It is on? Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all able to hear it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So my name's Todd Schuler. I'm an audit manager with the State Auditor's Office, and I'm sure you all are aware, if anyone here tonight isn't aware, we have received a petition from citizens to do an audit of the city of Pleasant Hill. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to, basically inform the board and the mayor that we are ready to get started on that. And we also are planning to do some work on the municipal court. We have always had the ability to audit municipal courts, anytime they're a function of the circuit court. So it's really kind of a coincidence. We have received some information from court and city officials subsequent to the request for the petition audit that had been sent out. and had received some information from court and city personnel that led us to believe that we should probably start an audit of the municipal court. And so we have kind of planned for that. We got to the point where we were ready to get that started, and the petition for the city came in. The signatures had been verified, so it just timing-wise seemed like it'd be good to go ahead and get both of the audits started. So just so you all know, the court, because we regularly audit municipal courts, that will be a completely separate audit from the city. We will track our time separately working on the court. We will issue a separate audit report for the court. The city will be a completely separate audit. We will issue a separate audit as it relates to recommendations for the city. Now, the difference is the cost of the court audit is just paid for through our budget. The cost of the city audit, we will eventually end up billing to the city once we get done, just whatever our actual costs of the audit are. So I believe the estimate was 80 to 120, 125,000. We make a range of estimate that we put on the signature forms, so citizens are aware of that cost at the time that they are signing. We'll do our level best to keep those costs to the lowest possible. If for some reason we get into the work and we determine that it is going to take more than that upper level of the estimate, then we will come back to you all in advance and let you know that whatever issues it might be, and let you know that those costs could exceed that. So, but when we get done, we will send a bill into the city that sets forth our time spent. So as far as the audit of the city goes, our objectives are going to be to review internal controls that are in place, determine if those are operating effectively, to look at compliance issues, both state, federal, city ordinances, to determine compliance. We will also look at certain management practices and determine if any recommendations need to be made related to management decisions made. And then we will also review transactions for fraud, waste, abuse, and if anything like that is found, we would, if it is a true fraud, we would notify, law enforcement personnel. If it's just, fraud, waste, something like that, then we would make recommendations and discuss those with the board. And our final report will be made public. So, there'll be a final report issued both on the court and the city, and those will be available publicly. We put them all on our website once they come out. So time-wise, we're getting started. I have Shelby Gerard who's with me tonight. She's going to be the senior auditor that will be out here on site. We do a lot of the work from our office just to keep costs down, so we don't travel out, every day. But we will be down here periodically interviewing personnel, gathering records, things like that. And time frame wise, start to finish, an audit like this typically takes about 9 months. Considering we're doing the court in conjunction with the city, 9 months to a year, roughly from start to public reports on the street. I don't know which one we will finish with first yet, so whichever one gets done. We probably won't wait and release both at the exact same time. When we finish up one and have it ready, we will release it, and then when we have the other one ready, we will release that. So when we get done, we will come back and meet with the board to go over the findings related to the city in a closed session. That is allowable per the law. The main reason for the closed session part is because we want to share what we have found with you all to give you a chance to look at it and make sure that we haven't missed something. Maybe we didn't talk to the right person, maybe we got the facts wrong, and we need to get something straightened out. So before we put it out publicly, we want city personnel to have a chance to look at it, and then the board also would provide a response. Typically that is either we agree or we disagree, and if you agree, when do you plan to correct the error? and that we will incorporate the responses right into the audit report. So citizens will be able to see what we have to say and what the city has to say back to back, right together. So, and the court audit, we will go over with the judge. We will share the information with the city administrator, of course, to make sure that they're aware, but the judge would be the person to respond to the findings related to the court. But we'll make sure that you all are advised of what we find there too. So that's about, there was, just in case anybody wanted to know, 673 signatures is what was necessary to get the petition of the city done, and there was 771 valid signatures. There was more than that turned in, but they have to all be verified by the election authority, and some of them got scratched, but 771 valid signatures. And so we plan to get started soon. I want to leave some business cards. If anybody has any questions or concerns, you can certainly call me. Citizens that are here, it is a petition. If you weren't aware, if you have concerns that you would like us to consider during the course of the audit, I will leave some cards. Could I set some cards right there? I'll leave some cards there and citizens can get them. I will throw out a few phone numbers. My phone number directly, I can be reached. I work in our Kansas City office. It is 816-889-3658. And my email is todd.schuler, SCHULER, @auditor.mo.gov. And you can go onto our website, which is auditor.mo.gov, and there is ways to correspond there, toll-free numbers, and there's office emails. If you wanted to send something anonymously, you could do that too. Just so everybody knows, the concerns that are shared with us are confidential. They are not things that, while we will be looking into issues and following up, we're not allowed to, not authorized by law to disclose exactly what concerns have been expressed to us. So citizens, if you do express concerns, have various topics that you'd like us to look at, you can share that information freely. We do not disclose any discussions that we have, any information that is shared. But just be aware, when we look into things, it is possible that, sometimes, especially in smaller towns, depending on what the issue is, that it sometimes is possible that people might figure out that it's you that has, the issue or the concern. Sometimes people don't care, sometimes they do. So, but we will certainly not, disclose that information. But what we will disclose when we get done is the recommendations and the facts regarding those areas that we find. So and we may have a few recommendations that are not in the final report. Not everything makes it into the final report, but if we do have a recommendation, we'll discuss it with city personnel. We're just we don't write up every dot that is missed or every T that isn't crossed. And we're looking for pervasive issues that affect, a large amount of people, not just the ticky-tacky errors. So, is there any questions I can answer for any board members tonight?
You answered all mine already.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you all allowing me the time, and we will be in touch when we get done, and we'll come back and let you know what we find. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to the next presentation, which is the quarterly budget update of fiscal year 26 year end.
Thank you. While they're pulling up the presentation, I was just going to open this up really quickly. Every month you have these monthly financial statements that we put into the packets, and we really thought it would be helpful for you all and for the public if on a quarterly basis we turned those reports into more of a presentation style to explain how the year is going in regard to our budget. So you can expect these budget updates to happen on a quarterly basis. So with this being our first one, we thought we'd start with FY26 year-end financial. when we were working on the FY27 budget, we did a similar presentation on what we thought the estimates of the year end would be, but now that the books are closed, we know how we ended FY26. So Amy is going to give that presentation to you. One thing I did want to note before she gets started is that there is a change in the presentation from what was in your packet. And all that we did there was to make it a little bit easier to understand, we pulled out the water sewer revenue bonds and put them on their own slide so that we could look at the water sewer fund just at an operational standpoint and make sure that we understood operationally how that fund is functioning. So with that, I'll turn it over to Amy.
I'll do this. I'll do both sides, just kidding. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to present to you an overview of our fiscal year 2026 unaudited financial recap. As Kristen stated, you do get a monthly revenue and expenditure report. Just kind of an overall summary of what our revenue is per percentage of our budget. Fiscal year 26, our summary is our total revenue for fiscal year 26 was actually exceeded our budget by 1.2%. The expenditures actually were down around 12% of what our budget was for fiscal year 26. We do have some deferred expenses incurred in transportation, water and wastewater, and capital improvements. Most of our operating funds finish near or above revenue targets. A quick highlight of fiscal year 26, the revenue performance. We budgeted revenue at $14.96 million. We actually brought in $15.13 million, so we were about 1.2% over budget on revenue received. Our expenditures overall budget was $21.38 million. The actual expenditures we had was $18.96 million. So we were actually down, like I said, 88.51% of budget spent. Our city finished the fiscal revenue slightly above budget, and our expenditures were significantly below budget. I was going to give just a quick highlight of some of our revenue and some of our funds. As you can see, special events, we were at it's budget to actual, so we were at 132% in special events. That was actually due to a lot of, we had more sponsorships this last year. Admissions to the rodeo was increased, actually probably from those the bleachers. We got to see more out there at the event so that we didn't have to turn more people away. Due to that, we did have beverage sales, which was higher this last year from what was budgeted, and then the livestock show. Excise tax is the report that I brought to you back in March. It's like our trip charge fee per building permit for residential and commercial. So we collect that on every building permit issued each year. So we actually received more building permits than was budgeted. Transportation was up slightly by 5% due to property tax was higher than what was budgeted. Our motor vehicle and gasoline tax that we collect is higher. And then we do have our Cass County Road and Bridge tax that was higher than budgeted. The parks was slightly up by 2.5%. That was due to, of course, property tax in their fund and then that sale of surplus property that we received. Those were higher. Well, we didn't anticipate that sale of surplus at the beginning of the year, so it was not technically budgeted at the beginning of the year. With those being higher, that helped offset some of our rec programs that were lower budgeted items in revenue, and our swimming pool. Like our admissions was low a little bit, rentals and swim lessons were lower. But with those, they offset some of those lower revenue expenditures. Majority of the other ones, like park, stormwater, is strictly a sales tax base. It's that 0.5-cent sales tax. General fund, public health, and then pool were all at 100% budget to actual. Water sewer was slightly down, and vehicle and capital improvements were down. Risk management was down a little bit too. But some of our major revenue sources, we do have sales tax, which we've stated before. They are in 5 different funds. You have your general fund, capital improvement sales tax, the pool capital improvement sales tax, transportation, and parks and water. Of that, we collected $2,502,724 in sales tax. On an average, across all 5 funds, we were at a 98% budget to actual. Property tax was actually better, as I stated earlier. That is actually in 5 funds too. That's in the general fund levy, your public health, transportation, parks, and then our debt levy to pay for that general obligation debt payment. We were at 102% budget to actual. Your franchise fees is strictly in your general fund, and that actually includes permits too. So it's like your electric franchise, your gas, telecommunications, cable, building permits, and command fees. We were at 100%, 99.9%. And then our last one is our charges for services in our water and wastewater fund. That was slightly lower due to our consumption was lower this year in residential. They didn't use as much water in residential, but our commercial was slightly higher, so it kind of offset that percentage. And within this 97%, we received the sale of surplus, that property down there by Little Big Creek. So that helped kind of increase our actual budget in that fund. That money from that sale is actually sitting in our fund balance as a restricted fund balance for sewer projects, or to help Tony with his last year, that sewer vac machine. We had a 5-year lease payment. So that is in our fund balance, but in the restricted amount. Expenditures performance by fund. As you can see, the debt, majority of these are 99%. Like debt service is strictly a yearly bond payment for our general obligation bond is our principal and interest. Our COPs for the pool and then for the bleachers, but those are actually getting transferred in from the other revenue source. We have a sales tax to pay that lease payment for the pool, and then the special events is paying that debt payment for the bleachers down there as well. But those revenues get transferred into the debt service, so all our debt payments are in one fund. General fund is slightly low. That is due to some vacancies mid-year from employees. And then water and wastewater was down, which I stated. With our revenue being down, we don't purchase as much water from our suppliers like Kansas City and Tri-County. And we budgeted for water tower maintenance. We renovated the water tower this last year. And yearly we have a maintenance contract with them now to come and maintain it and make sure it's running properly. That kind of got pushed out a year because we had to wait for the pump house to be done, just things. So they did not actually charge us the full maintenance agreement. So that was budgeted but not spent. So that money actually is in the fund balance. And then transportation is lower to 78%. That partly is we budgeted for some engineering expenses for like 3 different streets. If you want more information, Tony could probably give you more information on those. Some engineering costs, which we budgeted but we didn't spend. So that money is actually sitting in the fund balance as well as restricted. And then we have in the budget, we had 1 year of the 3-year street signage. We were going to try to start this last year. It got pushed out to fiscal year 27. So that, and with 1 vacancy he's had this year, that has brought that expenditure down to 78%. Capital improvement sales tax is down 57% actual to budget. That is due to, and I will probably talk a little bit more in later slides, some of our capital expenditures didn't actually get completed in fiscal year 26, so that's why that expenditure is down. Okay, so I'll just kind of do an overview of like 3 or 4 of our major funds. So the general fund, we budgeted revenue at $3,745,108. We actually brought in $3,754,912. So we were actually 0.3% over budget on revenue. Our expenditures were slightly down. We budgeted $4,234,204. We actually spent $3,923,925. Oh, I said that wrong, sorry. We were actually at a 92.8% budget spend. So our expenses were lower than what we budgeted. A lot of this was due to approximately like $300,000 worth of that was due to salary and benefit savings from vacancies in a few of the departments in the general fund. And our insurance for property and work comp was budgeted, expense was lower than what we budgeted for our property insurance and our work comp. We do have some expenses like building renovations that were not completed at year end. I actually estimated them in my year-end numbers when I presented the budget. But like I haven't received the invoice to pay yet, so we'll have to do a budget amendment to reclass that to this year. It did show the expense in fiscal year 26, but the invoice hasn't come yet to be paid. And there's a couple that will probably be deferred into this next year's budget, or that was. Okay, the transportation fund. We budgeted $1,544,994 in revenue. We actually brought in $1,622,761. So we were actually like 5% over budget on revenue. That was due to some of our motor vehicle sales tax, our property tax, and then our Cass County road and bridge tax that we received from the county. Our expenditures were budgeted at $2,044,747. We actually spent $1,600,232, which, like I stated earlier, that was at like a 78% of budget. A big portion of that is those engineering costs. It was like $350,000 that we had in the budget. That's actually sitting in the restricted. And then another portion of it is our Second Street parking lot that kind of had some circumstances where it just got completed. So that money was actually showing as estimated to be spent last year, so there will be a budget coming forward to reclass that to this fiscal year. And Tony did have one vacancy that kind of we helped in with some salaries and benefits as well. The park fund was budgeted revenue-wise $802,413. We actually brought in $822,037, sorry. We were over about 2.5% over budget. Mainly that was from property tax and that sale of surplus that helped with that budget. The expenditures, we budgeted $844,991. We actually spent $829,148 spent. So we did spend 98% of our budget this year. Part of that was due to, we are deferring some of our expenses, like our park signage we had in the budget last year. We were going to redo some of the park signage as well. Is not part, that's why that expenditure is lower than 100%. Capital improvement sales tax is a half-cent sales tax in this fund, as you all are aware. We budgeted sales tax this last year at $479,000. We actually brought in $478 in revenue. With expenditures, we budgeted $839,460. We actually only spent $481,164 in the expense. We only spent 57% of the budget. A big portion of that was our city hall roof replacement that I think is actually later in our agenda item to discuss. That was showing as expense last year, but we didn't, spend it. So that is sitting in our fund balance. We had a public works parking lot that Tony was redoing up there. We haven't paid for that one yet as well. That was in last year's budget. And then Brown's Arms upgrades, I think, was reclassified to this year's budget in fiscal year 27. And then our water and wastewater fund overview. This is strictly really more just our operating, like Kristen stated. We pulled out our bond projects out of this slide because it really is confusing for me and you guys. So our budgeted revenue for just regular operating revenue was $5,922,254. We actually brought in $5,873,481, which was 99%. Of that, like I said, part of it was the sale of property down the middle of Big Creek. So that kind of brought that percentage up to 99%. And then our expenditures, operating expenditures were $5,981,386. We actually spent $5,720,355. So of our budgeted expense, we spent 87%. In that, Tony does have some per se operating capital items, not from the bond proceeds, just like do like hydrant replacements, valve replacements, and registers. That's actually in part of our yearly capital improvements in the operating budget. And then, of course, that maintenance on the water tower was not spent, so that was why that expense was lower. And lastly, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the bond projects that we have completed with those issuance that we did in 2024 and 2025. We completed our timber pump house, the 7 highway water line replacement. We had 2 relining water lines, one on 7 highway and one on Country Club. And then we did a City Lake water line extension that's completed. And there were 3 lift stations, some improvements on like generators or pumps, I'm not 100% sure, at the Oaks, Borden, and Valley View. So on the right, you can see bond proceeds plus the interest. It was $7,873,564. The projects we've had completed so far is $3,000,000 $893,671, and that leaves a fund balance, which is in MOSIP, not in our, we set up there, $3,979,893. And that is just a quick overview of our fiscal year 2026, if you have any questions or comments.
So do we have additional water bond projects that have not been completed?
That is correct. And Tony and I met last week to, I think he's working, he can probably state more. I think he's planning on working like 2 projects at a time on, but there is money set in those bond proceeds to go to major water and sewer projects.
Any other comments from the council?
I guess the only thing that I would like to see is, and I don't think this needs to be extended to everything, is, because like we're seeing expenditures, they get moved for accounting purposes. But on the revenue sources, I think if we're going to make this quarterly update a normal thing, it'd be nice to have a year-over-year comparison.
Okay. Can do that.
Just on the revenues.
Yeah. And I think on these monthly reports, we're gonna put a column for notes. I mean, you'll receive a monthly report, maybe with notes like, okay, we're at 8% on, just kind of the highlights of like the monthly revenue and expenditures of why those percentages are where they're at. And then like Kristen stated, we'll come with a quarterly presentation.
I like that idea.
Okay.
All right,
Good job.
thank you very much. We will now move on to items for consideration. The bid award, bid number 05-26, the City Hall roof replacements.
Good evening, my name is Scott Lewis. I'm with Navigate Building Solutions. I think you've seen most of you guys. There's our before and there are some new faces over here, but I was here today to present the bid results on the roofing project I did last month. We can go to the next slide. So the agenda for tonight is going to be to go over the manufacturer evaluation we did initially prior to going out to bid, the bidding recap, the project schedule for the construction, and then any questions and answers you may have. So during the manufacturer evaluation, during the first time around, there were some concerns that we didn't have any local participation and that we just went straight to Garland. This time we wanted more transparency through that process, so we invited out 4 different manufacturers this time. Had them all propose come out and inspect the roof, propose their recommended solution with a budget and specification, so we could vet out each system and make sure they were apples to apples, and then make a determination on what was the best dollar value, best money spent for the city.
Hey Scott, sorry to interrupt you. Can you speak into the microphone?
Yes.
Thank you.
So performed the inspection, wanted to make sure we had the best value for the city. So as you can see here, this was the little summary sheet that we put together here, comparing the different systems and then breaking down the different budgets.
Move the microphone that way, and then that way.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Is this sheet in the packet?
Yes, all of these documents are in your board packet. I just snipped different ones for the presentation. The presentation itself is not, but all those documents are in there. I don't know what page it is. There's a lot. There's,
I know
over
it's
100
there.
pages
I
of
read
documented for you guys.
We got 180 pages, so.
I'm pulling it off, I'll let you know.
The total square footage works for me, so.
Yeah, it's about 6,400 square feet is the total area.
I found that one.
We broke it down to material and then want to make sure all the square feet is even. You can see here that Trimco was the third column there. They weren't necessarily the lowest price, but they did have the lowest material quote that was provided to us. So the city did see that. You can go to the next slide. So the city did see value in the lower material costs and then only putting the labor out to the market, limiting their markup to only the labor. So cutting out something that they were cutting out $50,000 out of the scope that they were allowed to mark up, and then limiting that to that $150,000 that was left. So you can see here, we came into this with a $200,000 budget. This was intended to cover all of the soft costs associated, also the Bank Teller roofing that was also done last fall as well. So going into this, we were already constrained with costs. As you can see here, all four of the manufacturers presented an option that was over budget, or over the $200,000 budget that was available in the fund balance. So bid opening was held on 5/21. We contacted 14 contractors over the course of the bidding period. We had 7 of them show up to the pre-bid. 1 of them did drop out due to winning another project right before the bid. But of the 7 that showed up, 6 of them did end up submitting a bid on bid day. The lowest responsive bidder was the Quality Roofing Company. They came in with a total bid of $207,000. This includes their base bid, their performance and payment bond, an alternate to put a metal coping cap over this roof, and then this section here, sections 3 and 4. You can see those are the top right 2 sections there. And then an unforeseen condition allowance of $45,000. This was during the inspections of the roof. It came about that some of the decking is significantly rusted, and we had a concern that you can't really verify how much of it is rusted until you pull the deck off. You can see some undersides of it, but that's not going to tell the whole story. So wanted to make sure we had some contingency in there for the potential unforeseen conditions that would come. You can see it is higher than you typically see on a $150,000 job, but that's just because based on approximately 30% of replacing this roof at the unit prices that we're seeing for the market today. In the bid documents, we did allow the contractor to propose their own start date. This was strategic to bring in as many bidders as we could. We were bidding this project really late to be trying to do it for summer roofing work when most of them filled their schedules in the fall the year before. But knowing this, some of them may have some backlog in their schedule they could fit in a smaller job like this. We went ahead and let them dictate the schedule so they could squeeze it in where they could fit it and then provide the best value and draw in the most interest on bid day. From that proposed start date, they proposed a 45 calendar day installation, so it'd be about middle of October there. And then this did include, the base did include replacement of the roof down to the decking. This memo will kind of go over a lot of things we just talked about. I'll go through the memo that was submitted to the board. City Pleasant Hill solicited bid proposals to the city on April 30th. Newspaper advertisements were made in the Tribune and Times. We did hold a pre-bid meeting on site for the roofing contractors to review the bid requirements and then to see the infill conditions of the site. Walk through our prospective bidder to the current site. There were 7 roofers in attendance and 14 contracted during the bidding advertisement period. Proposals were received on the 21st. As we mentioned before, 6 were received. Project team did an evaluation of the proposals and compiled a spreadsheet evaluating the cost, which you'll see on the next slide, and is recommending moving forward with a award to the Quality Roofing Company for a total bid of $207,000. This includes that unforeseen conditions allowance I was talking about before of the $45,000. The material for the project would be procured directly by the city from the vendor. Weatherproofing Technologies, Tremco is the manufacturer of the system for a cost of $49,343.17, bringing the total construction cost to $256,343.17. So you can see here, this is the bid document compiling all the results from the 6 bidders that submitted a bid on the project. They were all relatively close. The spread between the low and second low was about 30,000. It's about 10%. It's about what I would expect here, especially given the backlog and when we were doing this. There was a contract that had a shorter duration, but given the budget constraints, didn't see value in trying to get this thing done faster with better value is the cheaper price. So with that, that's where the recommendation for the Quality Roofing Company came in. So wanted to recap where we are overall budget-wise. So that first column there was the budget presented by Tremco during the bidding phase. You can see that the labor did come a little bit higher than anticipated, driving up the cost difference there. All of the other soft and ancillary costs are the same on this one. So going through the schedule then, we did issue this for bid in April of '26, received bid back in May on the 21st. Council approval of the contractor would potentially be June of '26, with a construction start of September of 2026, completing with final completion of punch list closeout at the beginning of November. Are there any questions, concerns, comments with anything?
So just so everybody understands, this is gonna be a metal roof, right?
No, this is a TPO that's going on this.
So shingles.
No, it's gonna be a similar what's up there. It's a single
Okay.
ply
Okay.
TPO.
Okay.
Right.
How old is the roof that's currently on? Did they mention that?
It's over 20, it's about 20 years old, 15, 20 years old.
50.
15, 20 years old. There's no existing information on the documents from what we were able to gather. But you can see, I mean, there's several leaks in here.
Oh, yes,
There's
that's
leaks
why
all
there's no
over the place.
question.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, we know we need some new ones.
I saw it somewhere, there's a 2-year warranty,
20. 20-year warranty,
20.
20 years, yes.
So we won't see these spots for 20 years? Is that-
If you do, they'll be here to fix it. I can't promise it won't leak, but I can promise they'll be here to fix it for you.
So Mayor, I will just add to Scott's presentation. So staff did include, it's page 17 of your packet, the agenda item cover sheet. As he indicated originally, we did have a budget of $200,000. So Amy and Kristen and I have worked to come up with what we feel would be our recommendation to you all to still be able to get this project to move forward if you so choose. Obviously, based on, we have this need of that. It would require a $99,343.17 budget amendment. Our funding options would be for the, so as Scott stated, there's $45,000 of a contingency. So again, that's maybe, until they get in there. So our recommendation would be to use $54,343.17 of the capital improvement sales tax fund balance. That is the known overage that we have. Should then they get up there and we have to use any of that contingency, then we would use fund balance from the general fund, so at maximum around $45,000. You can see in your the memo there on page 17 and 18, if we did that, if we were to have to use the fund balance from the general fund, it would only drop it by 1%, so from 52 to 51%. So for this evening, if you all, once you're done discussing or asking questions, what we brought to you this evening is the consideration for the bid award. If you so choose to move forward, then what we would bring back to you is the actual contract documents. We did go through the full contract document phase because there's no reason to kind of do that until we hear from you all. So if you choose to move forward, we would bring back to you the actual contract along with that budget amendment reflecting your actions this evening for your consideration. But as Scott said, the September deadline, most roofing companies, they spend their entire summers doing school districts. So again, we also kind of were fitting into that because had we pushed them to say we want it done as soon as possible, that price would have been considerably higher if we would have even received any bids. So that's why we've got some time, but ultimately wanted to get feedback from you this evening, then we can prepare the things because again, we do have until that September if we're moving forward.
There would be a component that we need to procure the material before that September deadline,
Correct.
but they would be starting before that.
So if we would have to utilize general fund, or funds from the general fund reserve, if I'm saying that correctly, we have that money there to utilize that, or would we have to eliminate something out of it?
It is sitting in the general fund balance and is available to be used.
Okay.
for the budget amendment.
But the fact of the matter is, we will be using money out of that fund balance. Because we only had the 200 budgeted, so
We're recommending to use the capital improvement sales tax fund balance for the portion that is known overage.
Right.
And then anything above and beyond that, we're recommending general fund. Because the capital improvement sales tax fund can't take the whole $99,000 hit.
I guess my concern would be, I'm not an expert on putting roofs on a place, but, we re-roofed the clinic last year, with less than half this number.
How many square feet was it?
It's 8,000.
8,000? What kind
And
of
we
roof
had to
was it?
redeck. We bought 100 sheets of decking.
What kind of roofing
We
was it?
just put shingles down, and that included $30,000 for solar takeoff and replacement. So it was a $100,000 project. That's my only concern.
Sure, we can't compare shingles and a TPO.
I
Those are
understand,
like
I
apples
just
and
feel like we
oranges.
might look at some other options if we're looking at having to draw our fund balances down.
I don't disagree. Well, I would say that you can't put a single shingle roof on this roof. It's not compatible with it unless you're gonna rebuild a new structure with a new roof system up here. So that's not even an option up here. You could potentially look at like an EPDM, but it's not gonna be, the cost of this project is 20% of materials, 80% labor. The bulk of this cost is made up by the labor here. I mean, even if you were gonna cut savings out of it, you might cut $10,000 to $15,000 out of it, but you're not cutting out the labor.
Councilman Patterson, I will add, we are subject to prevailing wage. That is a private business owner, you are not. So there is a component of this project that is prevailing wage.
Okay. We hired Royal, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I doubt they pay prevailing wage, but again, any project, any municipal project over $75,000 is subject to prevailing wage by law.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Council, I really appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that being said, do we have a motion? Let's do the motion first.
I'll make a motion to, I don't really know for sure what you want the motion to say, but to approve the bid for Quality Roofing Company.
So if you could yes, a bid award to the recommended quality, what would it be two, right?
Yeah, quality roofing and the Trimco.
And the Trimco materials for bid number 05-26.
So I will amend my,
You'll make a motion
thank
to,
you, I just went brain dead all of a sudden.
make a motion
To award bid number 05-26 to Quality Roofing and for labor and Trimco for materials.
I will make a motion to approve bid 05-26 to Quality Roofing and for
Materials.
materials and
No, I'm sorry, labor and then
Labor.
Trimco for materials.
Exactly.
All right. We have the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion from the council? Would anybody from the public like to make a comment?
Pat Clifford, 409 North Lake Street. Does this proposal include caps on the stone walls?
Yes, it does. So that was a $4,500 alternate to add metal coping cap on the stone.
Which I agree with.
Yeah.
Because you'll be sorry.
If you look at that bid tab, I mean, they were 45, the other ones range from about 9 to 17,000. I think that's a great deal for your buy to take that alternate at $4,500.
Just so you know, just to clarify that will help prevent like the integrity of the brick to keep water from intruding down in it.
John Self, 205 South Campbell. I was out for part of that, so I apologize if this was covered. The existing roof is 15 years old, is that correct?
That's our understanding.
And the new one has a 20-year warranty?
That's our understanding.
Has anybody checked to see if there's an existing warranty on the existing roof?
Do you want me to?
If you'd like to answer.
We did, and it does not have an existing warranty.
Carla Murray, 300 North Campbell Street, Pleasantville, Missouri. I had a couple of things I wanted to say. One is that have we looked at alternate materials instead of just using the Primo crop to do? I mean, it's like we're kind of champagne champagne taste on a beer budget almost, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we looked at alternatives to that type of roofing, because I have done that type of roofing before as well. And what you're looking at is the top of the line products, which maybe that's what we want to do, I don't know. But I'm asking, what's the cost differences to Zach's point? The other thing I wanted to ask is, and I mean no disrespect at all to anybody, but what are we paying to have this project bid out instead of us bidding it out ourselves? Because I'm sure that Design Building Solutions, who did our Prop P, it's not free. So, I mean, I'd like to know, what are we paying to have somebody manage these bids for us instead of us and our directors going out and finding out what bids they want to accept and who they want to work with, and looking at the information themselves. It seems like to me that that's where we may have a waste. And again, I mean, no disrespect, I know they bring a lot to the table, but I have a concern that we're just going to continue letting somebody else put our bids out there for us and figuring them out instead of doing it ourselves. And if we're not going to do it ourselves, then maybe we need to look at what we need in-house actually. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? If there's nothing else, then we'll have a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Toomer,
Yes.
Councilman Patterson,
No.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. So the next time we talk about this, we'll have the contract and the budget amendment. Okay, the next item for consideration is Bill number 2620, a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 46 relating to UTV permit regulations. This is something that I have met with the mayor of Harrisonville and the commissioners of Cass County, and working with the sheriff's office. And basically the reason or the ask for this is so that way we can allow UTVs from other municipalities to be able to use their permits inside of our city limits. One reason for that would be there's a lot of UTV, like poker runs and things that are being used now for fundraising. One of which is going to be happening August 1st for Amy Coon. So this would allow greater participation from people with UTVs in other areas. Everyone would still you would still have to follow the regulations of that particular municipality. So if Harrisonville's ordinance is different than ours and they require, other things like turn signals, you have to make sure that you are following their laws when you're in their jurisdiction. But otherwise, our permit would be good in Harrisonville, Harrisonville has already passed this ordinance. So as it stands right now, our permits would be good in Harrisonville. So what this would do is this would allow Harrisonville, and when the county passes theirs as well, that would allow them to be able to come here as well. So that's where we're at with it. And so I asked that the city council look into adopting that ordinance. Are there any questions?
Are Harrisonville's rules basically in line with ours? Because I know our city doesn't require an actual turn signal, but there for a while you couldn't go there.
Yeah, so Harrisonville does require turn signals, is my understanding.
They can't be hand signals.
No, I would have to look at their, at their ordinance to see exactly what all is, but it would be my recommendation that when we have somebody fill out a permit for Pleasant Hill, that we can give them a couple links or information about what everybody else's
Okay.
laws are, so that way they know when they go there.
Good.
Is the county gonna give us a list of that? A list of what each
Well, so, I mean, right now, Harrisonville's been the only one that has actually adopted this ordinance. So until the county actually adopts the ordinance and starts their permits, then it would be a deal where we would get, that information from them.
But it would still be a deal where we just get our Pleasant Hill permit and it's good throughout the county.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But it's not really good throughout the county. If we've still got it, if Harrisonville has different requirements than what Pleasant Hill has, then our permit really isn't any good in Harrisonville.
No, our permit would be good. It's just that you have to follow their rules, right? So your permit would be good. It's just that you have to make sure that your vehicle has the turn signals that it needs for Harrisonville.
Like my Razor had a turn signal when it broke, so like if I wanted to go to Harrisville and they wanted turn signals, I'd have to have that replaced. I just like having it for safety reasons.
This
I
just
just
makes
go
it
by
so
with what the
you-
law says, what?
This just makes it simple. This just makes it so you don't have to go to Harrisonville City Hall and purchase their permit.
I like it. I think it's a great idea, and I'm advocating for it to go countywide, so.
Well, then, with that being said, I will entertain a motion to,
I will make a motion to approve Bill 26-20, the proposed ordinance amending Chapter 46 relating to UTV permit regulations.
I'll second.
okay, is there any other discussion from the council? Would anyone from the public like to speak?
May I ask a question?
Come on up.
Come on up to the mic, sir.
And this has got, I'm sorry. My name is Glenn Mayu, I'm from 707 Henley. The question is not so much about using the units or the side-by-sides in Pleasant Hill, but I see them on the county roads. And I've not seen any kind of permits. Do y'all have any idea if you can use on the county roads? I've seen them all over the place.
So I know from my discussions when I was there talking with the county commissioners, that they are right now looking at ordinances to have a permitting process and allowing it.
So right now, it's not really, it's valid, is it?
It's kind of the Wild West, I think, because there's nothing on the books. So, I mean, I take mine out in 58, K Highway, P Highway.
Okay.
But you can't take it on, I could take it on 50 Highway.
Got it. Suicidal.
Yeah, right.
Look, I'm 70,
It
so.
had nothing to do with Pleasant Hill, it was just what I've observed.
And I don't know if Captain Clay might know a little more, or maybe we're on the right page here with that.
Mostly.
Yeah.
The stipulations, as I've read and understand them, you're actually not supposed to operate a UTV on a state highway that has a speed limit higher than 45 miles per hour. That's number one. Number two, they do have an exception to that. It's generally within 3 miles of the residence, or if it's being used as the old, as we know, farm use, right? So those are the things that I've been able to locate in the statute that govern the use of UTVs on public roads. So if you got somebody in Belton that's trying to come to Pleasant Hill and they think they're going to take 58, they can do that. That's on them. But if Highway Patrol pulls them over, they're probably getting cited. So thank you for asking, sir.
That probably needs to be in the link.
What about, so I don't know exactly where the city limits are, but I live in Henley Meadows. And I pull my little tin plastic boat to City Lake. Is that even valid?
With the UTV?
Yeah, I put my UTV.
Oh, that's fine, it's on side roads,
Okay. I was just
for
curious.
the most
As long
part.
as you have a permit.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, unless there's any other comment, we will have a roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer,
Yes.
Councilman Patterson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. The next item for consideration is bill number 2621, proposed resolution for an agreement with the Pleasant Hill R3 School District for the School Resource Officer Services for 2026-2027 school year.
All right, then. I'm aware of pretty much of it. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our SRO proposed contract for the 26-27 school year. We're doing it on a yearly basis with them currently. That's what was established previously, and we're just kind of keeping that way. Dr. Burke with the school district has already been advised and briefed on what we're proposing, and he has said, awesome, they're wanting to get that through y'all so they can get it to their next school board meeting, which is coming up also this month. I believe he wanted to get it by the 12th so they can present it to the school board. Are there any questions over that? Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve bill number 2621?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Scratch again. All right. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public like to speak? Okay. We will have a roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer,
Yes.
Councilman Patterson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Elliott.
Yes.
All right, bill number 2621 passes. And our topic for discussion is the 4th of July events. Hi, Nikki. Would you like to start with the information about the time capsule?
Sorry, yes, I was actually trying to pull that up. So as most of you all are aware, there is a time capsule that is buried out in front of City Hall. That was completed on July 4th of 1976, with a date slated to open July 4th of 2026. So we have been working on the events and the logistics of getting that done. A committee met with folks that were interested, specifically Mr. Clark Stanley was a vital member of the time capsule being buried back in 1976. We shared with you guys some of the information from that time. Unfortunately, when we sat down to try to put all of it together, Mr. Stanley was unable to be here for that meeting. Mr. John Edburn has also taken part as he worked pretty closely with Clark Stanley. Obviously, he since has bought the funeral home. So Clark and Eugenia actually donated the original vault that was used to place the materials in. So he had a wealth of knowledge to give to us to start as we prepare for this event. So with that being said, based on the recommendations from both Mr. Stanley and Mr. Edburn, Mound City Vault Company has donated their time to help us extract the vault from the ground. It was all of their recommendation to do so to honestly protect the integrity of the concrete vault and obviously the items that are within it. Because the vault company is donating their time to us, They asked though that we extract the vault prior to that Saturday. One, it's a holiday, and two, it falls on a weekend. But they've also asked for a little bit of flexibility should, unfortunately, in the nature of their business, they can't schedule everything out as, you know, folks pass and their services are needed without being able to, like I said, fully schedule out. So right now, we will tentatively extract the vault on Tuesday, the 30th, right? Yeah, is that the date? Sorry, I don't have my calendar pulled up in front of me. Yes, so on Tuesday, June the 30th at 10 a.m. Is when we will estimate to get started. Obviously, that is weather pending and we're pending their schedule. The plan now is that we will close off Paul Street to traffic, but we will set up a perimeter around the front of City Hall so that they can safely work, but that folks can come in, bring a lawn chair, however they so choose to sit and watch the events take place. We will, as staff, work to live stream that event as well for those that can't be here. The vault will then be secured on a trailer and be taken to the police Sallyport to set and be in secure location until Saturday's events. Then on Saturday, it will be moved down to Depot Drive because it is a flat surface. We felt like it would be a better suited. It's also shaded of a morning by the trees in Depot Park. But then the events will kick off around 9 o'clock. We'll just do like a welcome. There will be refreshments in the depot waiting room. We are going to, ahead of this, we will place the shade structure that we have that we use during the fair out in like the gazebo area again, just to make sure. July can be hot, weather can be very unpredictable. So we want to make sure we have adequate shade for those folks that need not to be out in the heat or in the direct sunlight all day. We will have some sort of a band playing in the depot, and then at 9:30 we will start with our ceremonies. Welcome by the mayor. The Historical Society will give a few words. They were also pretty vital in this event by collecting items, and then it will be opened at approximately 10 o'clock. Items removed. We'll have tables sitting out like to the sides of the vault. We will create we'll put up some stanchions and have a barrier. I know everybody's super excited about it. We want everybody to be able to see what was in there this piece of our history. We have received the list of the items that were put in there, and there is some designation on how to disperse of those items. However, I will note that during these conversations as we were preparing for this, it's a different world that we live in. And one of the things that truly came up was, what happens if in 1976, grandma said this goes to this person. Either A, they could potentially not be here. We needed to put a plan in place of where those items would go. And two, as much as I want to think that we all get along very great, that that's not always the case. And if I'm going to be completely transparent, the last thing we wanted was any type of domestic issue happening down on Depot Drive on the 4th of July. So we wanted to make sure we kind of had some ducks in a row. So we are working very closely with the Historical Society. We will facilitate the return of items that are designated, and if, as we're able to do so with those folks that do show up. But if not, we want to preserve these items that were part of our history, and so that's why we're working closely with the Historical Society so they have a home and a place to go should we not be able to logistically get all of the items where they need to go on that date. Our goal is to wrap up by noon. It is hot down there, and then I know that there's going to be some other activities that are kind of in the works for the rest of the day. So that's what we've got. We've got a committee working on this event of some folks that were present. Randy Miller was a former city employee. His dad was a very active during the time of this as well. Randy subscribes to newspaper.com, so he actually has newspaper articles from every time that something was ran in the Pleasant Hill Times preparing for this event, so it gave us a little bit of historical background as to the workings of it. So then moving forward, the city will celebrate our bicentennial in 2028 And so then that will now be, the next group will work to, that's the question, like, are we gonna rebury the time capsule? And so to not take away from this event and the history of it, then we have decided, obviously council can change that, but the recommendation is that we then bury a different time capsule, but get it on the anniversary / birthday of our city versus the country, and do so in 2028.
And I think that's wise because we'll have time to assess the integrity of that existing capsule.
That is correct. Mountain City Vault has pretty much told us that they don't recommend using it again. We have a price of a new one. It wasn't bad. I think I don't have those notes right in front of me. I think it was like $1,950 is for a new vault. But yes, their recommendation, obviously, one, was not to. You won't be able to really use the exact same hole without some significant other excavation at that same time. And again, then there felt like there was some value or some significance in going back to the city's founding versus this one, and kind of make sure this one stays special in its own way.
So the historical district the historical society is going to facilitate getting the items back to the people on the list.
So we will do our best that morning with what we can, but then following that, the items will be moved to the museum, so that then we can work with them to facilitate returning those. Again, not everybody may be able to be here on the 4th, and again, not to take away, I kind of sometimes wish we still lived in what the era was of 1976, but we don't. So we just want to make sure that we're preserving the integrity. And, like I said, there's the committee that's involved. A large number of them are going to probably know all of the people that were involved in what was placed in there. But again, not everybody is still around. And so we want to make sure that we get it back to the families appropriately. Some of them were donations. And again, we've made contact or like I said, are making those arrangements with the museum to make sure that history is preserved.
Well, and I mean, just to try to not put too much on city staff, would it just be more efficient to just post a list? Say, if your name's on here, make sure you're there July 4th. I mean, you guys shouldn't have to be hunting people down.
No, I don't think it'll be a matter of honestly hunting people down. I think it's going to be more of just making sure that, again, we try and make sure. I mean, that's not that you're like, oh, we need to see some sort of ID. But again, we live in a world that maybe not everybody gets along. And what we don't want to happen is, Grandma said it goes to, this person, and maybe this person isn't here, and this person now has 2 children, and they, were fighting, and now who's going to get it? So there are some things that we've talked through. But like I said, we'll do our best to remain respectful to those folks that placed items in there. But again, probably live in a different world than what everybody thought we would be facing 50 years later. So
do you think you'll see a lot of things that people will just say, give it to the museum?
Potentially. I mean, maybe. I just have saw the list for the first time. And so, again, we can kind of go through there and now and make some better plans, even more so than what we've already done. But I think there will probably be some that will, just, go. I mean, like one of them, the Pleasant Hill Times, like they had put newspaper articles in there. Well, I mean, Kirk and Jan are both passed away. I don't know that either of their daughters, would have an interest or one of them was in California, the other one was on the East Coast. So again, that probably is an item that will just end up at the museum. So, but we'll work through those to, again, try to remain as respectful and the integrity of the purposes behind it, but also understanding that we don't want to have family disturbances down there as somebody's trying to get a hold of something if the families don't get along anymore.
Well, and to that point, I mean, on the list, a lot of them just say heirs.
Yeah.
They don't list specific people, they just say heirs, which could be,
And it will be hard to,
You guys are still just trying to figure out the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, so that's the morning up until noon. And then afterwards, starting around 4 o'clock, what we're gonna do is move all the festivities down to the fairgrounds, and I've been in contact with a number of different not-for-profits and organizations in town, asking them to be a part of the fireworks at the fairgrounds this year. So instead of the fireworks being where they have been located, over there at the school. They're going to be at the fairgrounds this year. We're going to have food trucks. We're going to have, I've gotten commitments from a couple organizations to have tents and there'll be water and drinks and possible like glow sticks and things for the kids. We're trying to get some bounce houses and maybe also have a little mini foam party like there was the other day. So we'll have music and hopefully we can have a whole community get together down there at the fairgrounds, and then fireworks at dusk. If there's any organizations that I haven't reached out to that are interested in being involved, you can contact me and we'll see about getting a spot for you at the fairgrounds, and I think it's gonna be a great community event to try to bring everybody together and have a good time. Are there any questions?
I just want to say thank you to staff for all of the work. I know I had a lot of questions that were thrown at me, and I was asking of you as well, but I think that it's coming together very well, and I just want to say that I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, unless doesn't look like there's anything else on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to RSMO 610-021-3. And
I just had a couple of questions.
okay.
I noticed that the farmer's market was, we had our first one at 2nd Street. I just wanted to see how that went. Did we get any feedback from DHHD on that?
I haven't received any feedback since Saturday. Ahead of Saturday, they did have to go through a significant amount of work on the logistics of what that layout was going to be. Because prior to, obviously it was a chat style surface, but there were some of the vendors that honestly would, because then the rest obviously was grass, so that they would use some of the grass spaces when they would like maybe park the truck in the chat surface, but then the grass, where they'd pull along like the grass, and then they would sell out of their trucks and or their trailers. Some of them have refrigeration sort of thing. So obviously, one, the grass isn't growing yet, and two, with the defined boundary, it made it a little bit more challenging. But so again, I have not heard the feedback since Saturday. I do know going into Saturday, they did have some of their vendors came together and did a lot of work to try to what was the best layout to maximize the space. So,
Yeah.
but I have not heard anything since then.
I didn't know if they liked it or not.
Yeah, I can follow up with that. I haven't heard.
And some of this, Kristen, if you're gonna cover this in you can review it, that's fine. I was just curious how the household hazardous waste went, if you know how many cars came through.
Do
Mayor,
we
would
know
you
how
like
many
to take
cars
this?
came through?
Yeah.
So
I dispute this.
So I got down there at 6:30 in the morning, and we had Tony was out there, Jeff was out there, we had Public Works, we had Parks, we had Nikki was out there. Like we had people from Harrisonville along with Arkwood, and they were planning for a 300-car event, and we got 257 cars that came through.
That's awesome.
However,
there's a big but.
the situation with it is the total weight of the items that came in was not 257 cars worth. It was probably more like double.
Oh, wow.
We had so many people that have came through there that had not gone through an event previously, that had just truck beds full of paint, full of oil, full of pesticides, bags of chlorine. Like it, I couldn't tell you how many hearing aid batteries I saw on Saturday. God bless the people that only brought 2 paint cans. But there was a lot.
Those were few and far between.
Yeah, I had other commitments that I was supposed to be at 1 o'clock, and those got canceled because there was no way I was moving to do anything else after this. It was a great event, and I mean, you know, the guys from Harrisonville that came out, they were real good. It's my understanding that next year they'll be the ones that will be hosting, and hopefully we can go down there and give them a hand like they did for us. And but I think it was a fantastic event. Everybody seemed to really have loved the fact that it was there.
So we will give you a full breakdown. The Mid-America Regional Council Solid Waste Management District, they will actually provide us the data from the amount of tons of material collected, and both just in holistically and as well as by types of hazardous waste that were collected. So just to kind of give a brief, if you saw our pictures on social media, when the cars would pull up, again, there was volunteers that would help them unload. The items are sorted right then. So, you know, aerosols went somewhere, pesticides went to a table, paint went to a table, antifreeze, motor oil, container for batteries. I will tell you that, say somebody brought in the 5-gallon buckets of paint, whether they're full, empty, whatever. They stack those buckets 3 high, and then they shrink wrap it. At last count, we had over 15 pallets of just the 5-gallon paint buckets. We had to set up new bins for the amount of paint cans. We filled 2 of the big totes, like the plastic totes that are in the metal containers, of motor oil and antifreeze. They indicate that they anticipate the weight will be enough that it's equivalent to, as the mayor said, probably a 400 to 500 car count event. So it was non-stop from 7:30 when, I mean, people were lined up prior, like it started at 8, and we started at 8, but there was people, the line was back to 58 Highway by almost 7:45. And so we then had to pivot, and we took them, the route that we had advertised, we actually ended up taking cars back to the very end of the fairgrounds and coming up to keep from having traffic issues out on 58 Highway. So as the mayor said, we sat around afterwards while they were finishing loading all of the stuff up with the folks from the Mid-America Regional Council and Arkwood. They indicated, like I said, we heard from a lot of people. We hadn't been a member since we joined last year. Prior to that, it was, I think, 2018. And there's folks that have been holding on to their stuff for 10 years, and then as the opportunity came, they disposed of it. So it was a really, really good event, and we'll put out more information. So now, as a member city, there are other mobile collection events throughout the metro area the remainder of the year. And so our residents with proof of residency can go to any of those mobile collection events and not have to pay. You can also use their 2 permanent facilities, which is one's in Lee Summit at Resource Park or whatever it is, and the other one is in Kansas City. All of that information is at recyclespot.org, but our residents as members have the ability to use that, so we'll put out some other information. We did have a few people that come through the line that weren't happy, that hadn't read some of our messaging, that lived in the unincorporated areas of Cass County. Fortunately, Cass County, like as an elected body, is not a member yet. They've been trying for years to get them to, because it would create less confusion. But there were some folks that came in that had Pleasant Hill address, but they don't live inside the city limits, and so unfortunately they weren't able to utilize the event, because it does cost. I mean, the city has paid to be a member of this, and so that's their rules. But anyway, overall, like I said, fantastic event. We're very thankful for all that helped out, and look forward to being able, because it was mind-boggling the amount of stuff that we took.
Well, it sounds to me like it was money well spent on their part. So, I do have a question. Well, mine's more of a suggestion. So, is there any way we could take the drone and fly over the 7 Highway Bridge and put that on the website to let people see what progress is or is not being made? Because people keep saying, there's no work being done out there. But I just didn't know if it was something that would be good for the public to be able to see what's going on at the bridge.
Sure.
I'm sure you would welcome the opportunity to get flying. So.
We could do that.
I would say we'll probably make sure, we can reach out to MoDOT just to make them aware. I think the contractor for MoDOT has posted some pictures. I personally haven't seen any in a while, but, sorry, there was a bug. I also am not on social media very much, but, we can double check, but yeah, I mean, as long as they don't have any rules or restrictions as far as like some sort of no-fly zone or anything like that.
They don't.
Okay, then we can check it out. We can't tell you what we have seen from the other bridge, which is the trail bridge. It looks fantastic. So some of those pictures have been out there as well. But, yeah.
Anything else?
The only other thing I have is our economic development 101. Super excited about that. Do we have a way to let people know other than Facebook? The newsletter wasn't in the watermill this month, so do we have another way? I know it's on the website too, but do we have something to like send out to those that aren't online?
No, our method really was online, so yeah, website and social media.
Word of mouth, next Monday,
Yeah.
6 p.m., guys. Next door.
Yeah, and we've announced one of our presenters. We still have one more presenter announcement to make, which is, I'll spoil it, it's Tracy Breitner with Johnson County EDC. So we're really, really excited to have these experts in the economic development field here to give us this presentation. So yeah, spread the word. We're excited.
Anybody else? Okay. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session pursuant to RSMO 610-0213 for personnel matters and RSMO 610-02112 for contract negotiations?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Doomer,
Yes.
Councilman Patterson,
Yep.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session.